What's up, VR? I am so excited to be here with you guys today. If we haven't met, my name is David, and I'm just thrilled for this opportunity. And if you know me personally or you've heard me speak before, you know that I love to start every talk with a certain phrase. And that phrase is that today we are gonna be drizzling that biblical syrup. Yeah, woo. Some of you laughed, some of you were like, what did he just say? And that's a phrase I started using a few years ago, and it means today we're gonna talk about the Bible and we're gonna hope that it's sticky. Sticky like syrup, sticky in a way that it doesn't just go in one ear and go out the other, but we actually apply it to our lives. So as I start today, I have a simple question. Any soccer players in the room? Any soccer players? Yeah, a couple of soccer players. Sweet. I grew up playing soccer from when I was like 5 years old and could walk to ninth grade. I quit for a few years my sophomore and junior year because I wanted to focus on basketball. But then I had two back-to-back really stressful and long basketball seasons. And I'm like, I need something fun to do. And our school soccer team was absolutely terrible. My brother was the captain, and the season before I joined, they had one win. And I was like, I'm gonna just do something fun, no pressure, play soccer. This is a picture of me. Yeah. And so you can see the little ponytail right here. I called it the sprout. And I would say, man, people fear the sprout. When they see the sprout bobbing up and down coming, they were like, yeah, that's what I thought in my head. It looked so stupid, but I loved every moment of it. At one point when my hair grew a little longer, I did double ponytails out the side. And I called it like Boo from Monsters, Inc. If you guys have seen Monsters, Inc., I did that. But that was the sprout. But it was a super fun season. And what's so awesome about being on a really bad team is whenever you win, it feels like you just won the Super Bowl. And I remember we started the season 0-4, and we came into a game against a really crummy team. Their school was probably a third of the size of ours. And we won, and I remember rushing the field, and we were going crazy. And these kids were like, we have 200 kids in your high school. Or my high school had 1,500 kids. They probably had like 200 kids in their high school. And they're probably like, what are these kids doing? But we were so thrilled to win a game. Whenever I scored, I played striker, and my little brother's on the team, and I'd just be scanning for my little brother because we'd always hit on the next side, we'd hit the shoulder bump celebration. And I just loved getting to share that moment with him. He was the other captain of the team, and so we got to just have a blast together, hanging out, playing soccer. I didn't feel a lot of pressure, and it was just fun. But the team started clicking a little bit, and we won 3 more games. So we're coming in to the state tournament, 4-20 on the year, a remarkable season. And, we're coming in, we're gonna defy all the odds. We are gonna win the first round of the state tournament. We're gonna do something our school's never done before. Me and my brother in the locker room before the state tournament game, and we're like, guys, you have that dog in you. You got that dog in you. And we're just pumping everyone up. We're like, yo, this is our world. They're just living in it and just doing all any pump up talk you can think of. We were pulling that out. And so we come into the game, we're fired up. We're ready to shock the world. 40 minutes go by. We're playing so hard. We come into the locker room at halftime and we're down 8-0. We're down 8-0. And at that point I was thinking, maybe we play this team 10 times and maybe we lose 9 times. I'm just playing. I was thinking maybe we play this game 10 times and we lose 10 times. That was how bad it was. There was just no chance we were possibly winning this game. And as the final moments of the game happened and we got to the end, it kind of just left me thinking, I wasn't good enough. I could have been playing for soccer for years. Our team could have been playing for soccer for years, but we weren't good enough. And I don't know if you've ever had that moment before, whether it was a sporting event, whether it was debate team, robotics club, whatever it might be, where you ran into a competitor who was just better than you. And you were like, it didn't matter how much I worked on this. I'm just not good enough. Or maybe you were studying all night for a test, and then you show up on the day of the test and you still fail it, and you're like, man, I'm just not smart enough. Or maybe on a much more real sense, you feel like you're not a good enough friend, or you're not a good enough boyfriend or girlfriend or brother or sister, and you feel like you're just not good enough for the people around you. And today, I'm gonna talk about a verse that gets at this feeling. It's in the book of Romans, and if you guys don't know anything about the book of Romans, it's a book in the Bible. It was written by Paul. And so Paul wrote these letters, these books to different churches, and he wrote them so they could learn how to better follow Jesus. And in this verse, Romans 3:23, it says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Everyone has fallen short. No one is worthy of the glory of God. And maybe you're in this room and you're like, well, I've lived a pretty good life. I don't bully anyone. I'm pretty nice to the people around me. I volunteer and coach a youth basketball team with my mom. I do all these solid things. I show up for my friends. I'm there for people. I'm a pretty good person. This feels really harsh. I've lived a good life. And I want to get at this word sin here. And it's kind of a Christian word. It's a word you really only hear in church, sin. And the definition of sin that I'm going to use today is sin is the disobedience of God's instructions. Sin is the disobedience of God's instructions. All of us have made a mistake. All of us have disobeyed one of God's instructions. And maybe you're in this room and you're like, well, I don't necessarily believe in God's instructions. Why does this matter for me? And I know you can think of a time that you said something that went a little too far and that hurt someone else. Or maybe you watched that thing on your phone that you knew you shouldn't watch. You did something with your girlfriend you knew you shouldn't do. Or you cheated on a test that you knew you shouldn't have cheated on. We've all made a mistake, and those mistakes separate us from God. Those mistakes separate us from God because we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And if we jump into Colossians 1:21, God goes as far as to say, because of that sin, he says, once you were alienated from God and were enemies in your mind because of all your evil behavior. Woo. You were alienated from him. Because of that sin, because we've all made mistakes, we were alienated from God. And I think it's really interesting when I look at the Greek origin of this word alienated, it actually means to transfer ownership. And that's another more literal, and God's saying here, hey, you were on my team and now you're on Satan's team. And you're no longer on my team. Ownership has been transferred from God to Satan. We're no longer on God's team. We are alienated from him. He says we are enemies. He's like, you are standing against me in this moment because of your sin, because of the mistakes you have made. And it makes me think of 5-year-old me. Little 5-year-old me. I was on a play date with a kid. This is when we lived in Rantoul, Illinois. We were on a play date. He had a plastic wiffle ball bat. And, we're playing as kids do. And I don't know if I did something or something happened, but all of a sudden this other kid gets really upset and he comes, bah! He hits me in the face with this plastic wiffle ball bat. And as a little 5-year-old, this is probably the worst pain that I'd experienced up to this point in my life. I don't know if you guys have ever gotten hit in the face with a plastic wiffle ball bat. It is not enjoyable, to say the least. And so I go run off to my mom and I'm like, Mom, you won't believe what he just did. He just hit me in the face with this wiffle ball bat. And I'm no longer friends with that kid. I never want to see that kid again. He is now my enemy. If I'm Luke Skywalker, he's Darth Vader. If I'm Iron Man, he's Thanos. I'm done with this kid. I'm alienated from this kid. He's my enemy. And God could have responded that way with us. Because as we talked about, we've all made mistakes. We've all fallen short, And maybe you're a Christian in the room, you pray for God to show up, and then he shows up, and then you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then you go do your own thing. You forget about God. And then you come back, or maybe you're walking with God, and you keep making mistakes. You keep going back to the same thing. Or maybe you just don't know God at all, and you're still falling into these mistakes. And you just keep hitting God in the face with this plastic wiffle ball bat. And God could have been like, I'm done with him. Satan, you can have him. I don't want him anymore. I'm done with them. They're ungrateful. They keep hitting me in the face with this wiffle ball bat. I'm tired of them. But the story doesn't end there. And in the next verse, we see, but now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death to present you holy in his sight, without blemish and free from accusation. We have been reconciled. We have been taken from Satan's team and brought back on God's team. How? Because Christ's physical body through death. And I don't know if you know anything about this Jesus dude. Leanna in session 1 this morning was talking about him and Lazarus, and this Jesus guy was pretty incredible. He went all over the place, and he was traveling from town to town doing miracles, healing people, teaching people, and the people around him were like, yo, this dude is different. Like he's saying something that I've never heard before, and I kind of want to follow him. And he was doing all these things, and it got some attention. And these people called Pharisees, they were teachers of the law, pastors in a way back then. They saw what Jesus was doing, and they were like, we got to shut this down. And so they gathered together, and they schemed against him, and they accused him, and he was sentenced to death on a cross. And death on a cross, it isn't any death. It is the worst death imaginable. He was whipped, he was beaten, he was bruised. He had to carry this giant wooden cross to this hill, and they put it down, and they nailed his hands and feet into the cross, and he was stuck there, and he died for us. He died so we could be holy in his sight. He died so we could be reconciled to him. And I'm like, why though? Why would he die for me? I don't deserve it. And God knew that I didn't deserve it. And God knew that I could never be enough, so he became enough for me. God knew that you could never be enough, so he became enough for you. And that's incredible. But I still don't understand. Like, I still fall short. I still make mistakes. Or maybe you're in this room and this is the first camp you've been to, this is the first time you've been in a church, and you're like, I don't even know God. Why would he die for me? I just can't understand that. And I think it boils down to this, is we're conditional creatures trying to understand an unconditional God. And to unpack that for you guys, to break that down, is the only love that we've experienced on earth is conditional. Like, if I love someone, they're gonna love me in return. If I have a friend and they constantly come to me and they say hurtful things and they put me down, eventually I'm gonna distance myself because I don't wanna get hurt in the process. And maybe I'll keep praying for them and maybe I'll keep being there for them, but I'm gonna distance myself. A lot of the love we've experienced here is conditional on the fact that we love someone in return. Like, we love people if they show up for us. But God didn't leave it at that. God didn't leave us at an arm's distance. He said, I love you unconditionally. And so we're so used to this conditional love, and we're like, man, how could he do that for me? How could he die for me? And in Romans 5:8, it says, but Christ demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Jesus didn't just die for the you that's showing up to church every Sunday, that's inviting their friends to church, that's doing all the right things, that's getting A's in school, that's his perfect kid. God didn't just die for that kid. He died for the you that's in your deepest, darkest moments, the you that keeps going back to pornography, the you that's sleeping with your girlfriend, the you that's cheating on tests, the you that's saying hurtful things. He died for that version of you. He died for you while you're a sinner. And I think about my life and I'm like, why, God, would you want me? I've made mistakes. I fall short. I say things that are hurtful. I screw up every single day. Why would you want me? And there's a pastor that I really like, and he frames it like this. He's like, God sees the person who's saying, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. No one loves me. And he's like, nah, you're enough. I want you. And he sees the person who's struggling with pornography, and he's going back to it every single stinking day. And he says, I want that person. I love that person. And he sees the girl who's looking in the mirror, and she's struggling with an eating disorder. And she's like, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not good enough. And like, God's like, no, you're pretty enough for me. You're good enough for me. And he sees the person who's sitting on the edge of their bed and they're struggling with depression and anxiety and everything in the book. And they're like, maybe I should just end it. No one loves me. And God's like, no, I love you. I love you. I want you. God loves you, and he wants a relationship with you. God loves you, and he just wants a relationship with you. And we started off this talk with how the mistakes that we've made have separated us from God. And God knew that we couldn't be enough. So he became enough for God. And all he wants in response is for us to choose to have a relationship with him. Because he loves us. And he wants a relationship with you.